The power of water is something the Netherlands has known well for centuries, but it is only recently, during the 1980s, that anyone thought of using that power to store electricity. In order to store and afterwards use the power of water efficiently, it is essential to work with differences in altitudes, which are not a common sight in the Dutch landscape. An innovative project in the Limburg province looks into solving this problem by building a water reservoir above the ground and linking it with another one underground. A tunnel conduit is then drilled with great precision so water can be channeled from the upper to the underground reservoir, using the high speed built up over its fall to activate 7 turbines which produce electricity. From the control room, valves are opened so the water stored in the upper reservoir can dive to a depth of approximately 1,400 meters below ground level. The water then flows away through the pipe system to the underground reservoir. Plenty of power for the turbines. The process is initiated, managed and thoroughly monitored from the control room. Thanks to the water storage system, electricity supply gains in reliability. Europe has set itself ambitious targets when it comes to the greening of our society. In 2020, it intends to see CO2 emissions and energy demand reduced by 20% and 20% of our energy supplied from renewable sources. Translated into national ambitions for the Netherlands, this would imply that nearly 40% of Dutch electricity should be produced from renewable sources. For this, all the available technologies will need to be harnessed, be it biomass, solar energy, or windmills. The main inconvenience of most renewable energy sources is that their reliance on weather conditions, sunshine or wind speed, makes them less reliable for flow regulation than traditional fossil power plants. Electricity demand, on the contrary, is relatively easy to forecast. Advanced tools factoring in light intensity, temperature and industrial processes now allow for a trustworthy indication of what demand can be expected at given hours of the day. We do not expect the periodicity of those demand patterns to drastically change over the course of the next decade. The wind capacity installed by 2020 should provide for enough electricity to cover the entire demand at night. The production from those windmills should even be such that we expect that, without additional investments, wind turbines will need to be turned off at times in order to avoid situations of imbalance. During the day, solar energy will also come to play an increasing role in fulfilling the demand for electricity. fossil fuel plants will need to be kept operational to operate as backup in those hours that wind and solar failed to deliver. Power plants intended for production only as backup for wind parks will need to ask for higher fees for remaining standby time. These high costs will further drive up the average price of electricity. In order to add large amounts of renewable capacity into our electricity system, it is essential we look into sustainable ways of storing the electricity produced, in order to compensate for the associated lack of reliability and predictability. Sustainable electricity can then be stored in the hours it is not needed, and be called upon when the system faces a supply shortage. The future will also bring electric cars. These will only partly solve the issues associated with renewable energy. Electric cars are indeed mostly suited to absorbing excess supply of electricity rather than feeding back into the grid at times of scarcity. In addition, the electricity infrastructure still requires transformation before electric cars can play a significant role. Other forms of electricity storage are also possible, for example through the use of import and export possibilities, creating effectively a virtual storage. In the existing electricity transport system, trading with neighboring electricity markets already supports the most efficient use of all production assets on a Northwest European scale. The major investments that have recently been made in increasing connections with other European electricity systems have contributed and will continue to contribute to a greater security of supply. A future connection to the United Kingdom, as well as expansion of existing connections with Norway, Belgium, and Germany, open new possibilities for virtual storage of electricity. Where virtual storage offers part of the solution, it is certainly not sufficient to safely absorb all the wind capacity expected from Dutch, British, Belgian, and German wind farms without jeopardizing security of supply. After all, the wind blows over that whole area at approximately the same times. This means that surpluses and shortages in the system, due to the production profile of those wind parks, will occur quasi-simultaneously. Only a fraction of these surpluses and shortages can be compensated by Norwegian hydropower stations, and we do not expect any more of those plants to come online within the next decade due to their ecological effects. A range of solutions will be needed to guarantee security of supply in an increasingly sustainable future. Those solutions, offering both virtual and physical ways of storing electricity, will coexist. O-Pac presents the Netherlands with a chance to contribute to this sustainable future. And this future, in fact, starts today. Today, because building O-Pac will take up to 7 years to complete, with a number of issues still to be resolved first. There's plenty to do before water finally flows up through the pipes to the upper reservoir. The Graatheide area offers a unique opportunity to realize the O-Pac project. It is ideally located on the Juliane Canal for removal of the rock extracted from drilling the tunnels. It is close to the high voltage grid and also offers the possibility to plug into the German or the Belgian transport systems. Last but not least, O-Pac will create thousands of jobs in the region during the building works and hundreds thereafter. And O-Pac will not only facilitate the transition to a sustainable energy supply, it will also prove a profitable initiative. The avoidance of the costs due to the imbalance created by renewable energy production, The reduction of carbon emissions from polluting fossil plants and the value created by using O-Pac at times that prices are peaking will make O-Pac a real sustainable winner. In the Netherlands, we knew all about the power of water, but O-Pac is about to teach us the sustainable value of that water.